Hello and welcome to another edition of Focus on Morris County. I'm Joe Garifo, Public Information Officer for the Morris County Government. Focus on Morris County is a program that's designed to keep us up to date on the actions being taken by the Morris County Board of Freeholders. The show is also intended to make us all more aware of the many facets of Morris County government. Now, on this segment of the program, we are going to be focusing on the 2014 Morris County budget. And here to detail some of the aspects of the county budget is my guest. He is Morris County Freeholder John Krickus. Freeholder Krickus of Washington Township is a member of the Freeholder Budget Subcommittee, and we'll be talking a little bit about the committee itself and, of course, about the budget as we go through the segment. Freeholder, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Joe.
I just mentioned that you're a member of the Freeholder Budget Subcommittee. Can you give us an idea of what the committee is and how it functions?
Sure. The Budget Committee is made up of 3 members of the 7-member Freeholder Board. And it's a little different than local government, where I was a mayor and committeeman for 12 years. There, the full committee, a 5-member board or 7-member board, would review the budget in its entirety from like November to February. Mm-hmm. Now, the county budget being a much larger budget, $317 million this year, so that is worked on really year-round. And the 3 members of the Budget Committee work with all the various department heads, work with other members of the Freeholder Board, and then present a budget and get feedback from the other members of the Freeholder Board and the public. So it's more of a group that works on the budget year-round versus just a one-time process.
And that seems to work well, working on the budget year-round. You get a better feel for spending and appropriations and money coming in, that kind of thing? Is that
yes, absolutely. And because, again, county government is most of us who serve in county government had served at a local level. Mm-hmm. And so county government is larger. There are a lot of similarities, but really it's just the scope of county government is larger and therefore requires more work, and that year-round approach really does help.
Now, you mentioned the total budget amount, $317 million. As we look at the budget, give us an idea as to those numbers as opposed to the 2013 budget, let's say.
Sure. Actually, the past 2 years, 2013, 2012, we've been able to hold spending flat, and that's allowed us to keep county property taxes at 0 also. The budget is really split into four various areas in general. We've got our public safety area. We have our social services area. We also have our parks and education services, entities that we provide money to. Mm-hmm. And then there's the county capital projects, which is really run by our administration and administrative services. So if you kind of slice the pie up, you kind of get 4 roughly equal parts there.
Now, I know the freeholders' effort in keeping the tax increase down to 0 the past 2 years was also, I believe, assisted by some of the actions that were taken by the state, the Christie administration. What can you tell us about that?
Yes, absolutely. The reforms that Governor Christie has enacted, and with the state legislature, so mm-hmm. It was bipartisan reform. The 2 most important being a salary cap at 2%. And that has helped not only county government, but local governments across the board. And also the requirement that employees contribute towards their health benefit plan. And what that has done is many employees now, as has occurred in the private sector, have selected plans that are less expensive. So it was both the savings in receiving the contributions from the employees, but also that they were picking plans that were not as expensive. I'd also add, Joe, that our county managers have been part and parcel of being able to create these results. We've asked of them to find efficiencies because no one knows how the government operates than the people in charge of the departments, the managers in those departments. And really it's been their cooperation being able to help find the savings that's been critical also.
And I think we should mention also that the county budget is accessible if you go online to the county government website, which is morriscountynj.gov. So you can access the county budget and take a look at it for yourself and see some of the areas in which the county does spend county dollars. Now, you mentioned the county administrators. The county also made a big effort to keep the tax rate at a 0 increase. By doing some reorganizations of various departments and offices. How did that impact the county budget?
Yeah, that was absolutely essential. So we had the reforms that the governor and state legislature passed, which was had a very major impact on the budget. But also, again, all the county departments, and this is a little bit of an unglamorous part. It's you can't put it in a sound bite. We did this, and that caused a significant reduction. It's just the everyday blocking and tackling, nitty-gritty of making operations across the board more efficient. We've done it through attrition as people retire or leave for whatever reason. We've done it through replacing people with part-timers, say, instead of full-timers, or spreading the workload out, or making a couple of promotions. So that's occurred at the library. They had several people retire, and we were able to mainly not replace those people. It's happened in various administration offices, a department called the Adjuster's Office, where we were able to make that more efficient. It happened at Morrisview, where the staff there was able to come up with a new staffing plan to help reduce the need for overtime and resource. So really across the board, and that, when people ask, well, where are you going to get those savings this year? In some ways, it's going to be 1-2 people at a time as the opportunities arise, and just working with our managers and sending that message, that's the direction we want to go. Just become a little bit more efficient every year. We're not talking, layoffs. That would be the last resort. We're talking about just trying to find efficiencies in any place we can, and doing it in a way that continues to provide the services. I'd also just add one thing on the transparency, and I appreciate that you mentioned the budget's online. We actually do a budget presentation for the towns. That presentation is online. Last year we went to 34 to 39 towns to present the budget, and I think the towns really appreciated us going to each of those towns. You have to come to Morristown. We'll come out to your town hall. So that's online, as well as we have a capital budget presentation that's also online.
And are you going to be going to the various towns this year as well to give them a little overview of this year's county budget?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
And many have responded, and I would anticipate that by mid-year we will have been out to every town.
Yeah.
That is requested.
Okay. Now, the freeholders also this year, and the Freeholder Board has done this for the past several years, has reduced the tax that is used to fund what's called the Preservation Trust Fund, which is used to fund open space programs, historic preservation, farmland preservation, flood mitigation. A reduction of this tax this year, again, does it impact the program in any way?
We're able to continue the program, and the open space funding is really a separate part. It's really not part of the county budget. So that's why we talk about for our county spending and taxes, we're able to keep it at zero. Then we have separately this open space program, which got up to about $45 million around 2006, 2007. That's the open space tax. And for various reasons, a lot of farms have been preserved that were going to be preserved. The Highlands Act has gone into place. There is not as much land that needs to be preserved. And so, for example, in one of the we actually have 6 open space programs for various areas, like for water preservation, for farmland preservation, as well as just for outright open space. And one of the programs we only had, I believe the open space program, we only had 3 applications last year. So the need has really gone down because of the preservation efforts. For the past 2 years, we had already gotten down to $14 million from 45, and last year we reduced it by 3.9. This year we're reducing it by 1.2 million. Those programs are all still being fully funded as needed because the need is lower. We actually have about $57 million still in these accounts to fund the programs. The other aspect of it is that the tax is now at about $9 million. About half of that goes for historic preservation and for park programs, and those are fully funded. So I anticipate that $5 million part of it will continue. We have a study going on this year that we'll review later in the year to see, well, how much need is there really going forward in the MUA, the water area, water resources, farmland preservation, and open space to decide what to do with the remainder of the tax.
Yeah. You mentioned a couple of minutes ago the capital budget, and I know that the Freeholder Board's goal, long-term goal, is to have the debt, the county's debt, reduced by X number of dollars.
Right.
What can you tell us about the capital budget this year? I know there's increased money for road and bridge projects, and about debt reduction.
Sure, and those issues are all intertwined. And we have some really good trends. Look, Morris County has always been a very well-run county. We have a number of facilities that have been put in place. Our new communication center, Morrisview is in very good shape. The jail was built a number of years ago. So there are not major projects looking at us right now because of these prior investments. So now what we want to do is lighten up on taking on debt. We are able to do that now, but we want to focus on roads. So our capital spending has the past 2 years been underneath $25 million a year. What that means is we're paying down our debt about $8 million a year. And within another 4 or 5 years, the whole trend of what we've done the past couple of years added to the next few years, we'll reduce debt by about $60 million. And I do want to talk about the road focus, but the impact of that on the budget is that in a few years, we're going to have $5 million less of debt service.
Okay.
So that'll be $5 million that can go to maintaining programs or tax relief. We'll have to see. Things can change a lot in 5 years, but it's good to know that we have, I want to call it a long-term plan, kind of an intermediate-term plan to not only reduce the debt by a significant amount, but also to have a good impact on the budget. Now let me address the roads and bridges. Even before we knew how horrible this winter was going to be, which I think was the worst winter in 20 years. I remember my daughter had just been born, and I called it the 17-storm winter, because I was commuting on Route 78, and that was being closed because it was being iced up, and it was a tough winter, especially my wife had a newborn in the house, so she always reminds me of that. So we've had one of the most horrific winters. Now, even before we had that, we had been focusing on increasing funding for the roads. The county funding is going to go up 55% in this budget. So again, we don't have other major projects, but we do want to use our capital budget resources is a critical area like roads and bridges. There is also additional funding coming from the state and federal government that goes into that pie. And we had made that a focus even ahead of time. What I would say is as we look at the capital budget, any projects in 2014 that can come in under budget, we may put even more dollars into roads, and we'll certainly be looking at as a priority for 2015. And finally, it wasn't a lot of money. It was about $75,000, but we bought extra asphalt warmers so that you can fill the potholes and utilize all of our crews to the maximum, because there'll be a lot of potholes to fill going through the spring and even summer, given the terrible winter we had.
And you've already begun work on the budget for 2015?
Yes, absolutely. And really, while it seems like a point in time, you're always looking at ways that can save money.
Yeah.
And so there are ideas that came up in the budget process that we've now put on a list. All of them may not work out, but if you just get a couple each year, and actually last year we had several come through, that helps gain you the savings that you need to keep the budget under control.
Well, Freeholder John Krickus, I want to thank you very much for being with us today. We've really only just scratched the surface of the 2014 budget, but as I said earlier, you can view the budget on the county government's website, and that is morriscountynj.gov. And while you're on the website, you can check out a lot of the other aspects of county government. If you also have a question about county government, you can call the Freeholder's office. Maybe it's a question about the budget or anything else about county government. 973-285-6010. And again, I'll give you the county government website, morriscountynj.gov. When you're there, you can sign up for the county's electronic newsletter, get news about county government delivered straight to your inbox. And again, you can check out all of the various social networking sites that Morris County government embraces. I'm Joe Garifo. Thank you for being with us, but don't go away, because we'll be right back.
Pregnant, scared, or a new mother who can't care for your newborn?
There's a safe haven in New Jersey.
You or a friend can bring an infant to any hospital or police station and give up custody safely, legally, and anonymously.
No questions asked, no shame, no blame, no names.
Call 1-877-839-2339 or visit njsafehaven.org to learn more. Remember,
New Jersey has a safe haven for unwanted infants.
Brought to you by the New Jersey Department of Children and Families.
Welcome back to Focus on Morris County. I'm Joe Garifo, and on this segment of the program, we are going to focus on Morris County's efforts to preserve farmland here in the county. And here to update us on how those efforts have been going over the years is my guest. She is Katherine Coyle. Katherine is the director of the Morris County Agriculture Development Board.
Good morning,
Katherine,
Joe.
welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Program.
Good morning.
The Morris County Agriculture Development Board, what can you tell us about it and its role in farmland preservation?
Sure. The purpose of the Morris County Agriculture Development Board is to preserve farmland in Morris County in order to preserve the agricultural industry. So the main goal or charge of the board is to administer the farmland preservation program.
Now, what can you tell us about the makeup of the board and how one gets on the Agriculture Development Board?
The membership of the board is governed by statute. We have 7 voting members. They are appointed by the Morris County Board of Chosen Freeholders. 3 of the members are public members and 4 are farmer members.
When we talk about farmland preservation here in Morris County and the preservation of farms, how many farms have been preserved over the years here in the county?
Yeah, I think most people are actually surprised to hear. As of today, we have 123 preserved farms in Morris County, totaling over 7,500 acres in 14 municipalities. And that actually amounts to 11.7 square miles of preserved farmland.
Wow, okay.
We have another 7 projects that are currently pending preservation. And by 2015, we expect to have over 7,900 acres of preserved farmland in 15 municipalities.
Of the communities in which farms have been preserved, where are most of them located? I would assume in the western portion of the county?
Right. That's right. The majority of the preserved farms are located in Washington Township. In fact, 73 of the 123 are in Washington Township. It's not surprising because Washington Township is ranked first in the county with the number of farm acres, 11,000 acres of farmland.
Now, the Farmland Preservation Program is part of an overall program, I believe, that is known as the Preservation Trust. What exactly is that? What are the other components, too, of the Preservation Trust?
Sure. So back in 1992, the Board of Chosen Freeholders placed a question on the November ballot for funding for the preservation of open space and farmland in Morris County. So the voters approved the creation of the Morris County Open Space and Farmland Preservation Trust Fund. That trust fund is still operating now. It administers funding that is administered through 3 agencies and divisions in the county. That includes the Morris County Park Commission, the Morris County Municipal Utilities Authority, and also the Division of Planning and Preservation within the Department of Planning and Public Works. That division has 4 preservation areas, and that's open space, farmland, historic, and flood mitigation.
Specifically, when it comes to farmland preservation and the programs that are available under farmland preservation, I understand there are 2 basic programs under which farms can be preserved.
Correct.
One is an 8-year program, and the other is called easement purchase. It's an easement purchase program.
Correct.
Let's talk about the 8-year program first. What is that? What are some of the aspects of that?
The easement purchase program, when a farmer applies for that program, they voluntarily agree to not develop their farm for a period of 8 years. They do not receive any direct compensation for doing so, but they are eligible for grants from the state for conservation projects on their farms. In addition, farms enrolled in the program are protected from eminent domain action. This program is not as popular as our easement purchase program.
So now let me ask you, what happens after the 8 years is up? I mean, can they enlist for another 8 years?
That's right. They can renew the program, and they can continue doing so indefinitely, or they can terminate if they choose to. They can apply to permanently preserve their land if they choose to take that route. So those are the options.
Now, you mentioned the easement purchase program is the more popular
by far
of the 2. So explain what the easement purchase program is.
So under the easement purchase program, the farm is preserved permanently. It involves the sale of the development rights on the property. So a farm owner voluntarily sells the development rights to the county. This is known as the sale of a development easement. The landowner continues to own the property. They can even choose to sell it if they wish to, but the deed restrictions that are placed on the land run with the land in perpetuity, and the farm can never be developed, can only be used for agricultural purposes.
Katherine, what are some of the more common reasons, let's say, that a farmer would enter into either one of these two programs and want to preserve the farm?
Sure. Typically, I think the most common reasons are financial benefits and leaving a legacy. We find that the majority of farm owners who preserve their land use the money that they receive from the county for capital improvements on their farms, perhaps to buy additional land, equipment, or vehicles for their farms. And as far as legacy, permanent preservation ensures that the land will be available for future generations for farming.
Are a lot of the farms in Morris County family-owned and operated? You talk about leaving a legacy.
Right.
Maybe they're, handed down from grandparent to parent to children. Do you find that?
They are. They are typically owned, and the current owners, the farmers, wish to make sure that once they're no longer here, that the land will continue to be here available, whether for their future generations or for other young people in the future who wish to enter into the farming business. Does the county actively pursue farms or actively seek farms for preservation? Do farmers come to the county? How do you find out about a farm that wants to be preserved? Our program is completely voluntary. However, we do seek farms to preserve. So we typically, periodically, will reach out to owners of farmland that we believe is eligible for preservation to encourage them to consider applying.
And so the funding to purchase these farms, where does that come from?
It comes from the Morris County Preservation Trust.
Okay.
And from the Garden State Preservation Trust. So the state actually typically contributes about 60% of the value of the development easement. So that money is paid to the county, and then the county pays the landowner 60% from the state and about 40% from the county.
And how, when you're talking about purchasing the farms, how is the purchase price determined?
It's determined through two appraisals. So the county hires two certified appraisers to appraise the property. They first look at the fee value of the property, what we call the before easement value, and then they also look at the restricted value of the property, what we refer to as the easement, the after easement value. The difference between those two values is the value of the development rights, or what the county pays the landowner for the development easement.
When we talk about farming in Morris County, I know there's a rich history of farming here in the county, but today, as we look at the county's economy, how important is agriculture? How important is farming to the county's economy?
It's very important, and not only to the county's economy, but also to the state's economy. The 2007 U.S. Census of Agriculture ranked Morris County 10th in the state for the value of agricultural products produced, with a total sales of $27 million.
And you mentioned earlier that I guess when you say those figures, or when people ask you the question that I just asked, people are kind of surprised that Morris County is, I don't want to say an agricultural county, but that agriculture does mean an awful lot to the county's economy.
It has a long history in the county, and it's a thriving economy.
Yeah. Do you know, just offhand,
Yes.
do you know what is the major, I don't know, product or crop or something that is produced on the farms here in Morris County? Is it, are they fruits, are they vegetables, is it grain?
The new Census of Agriculture is actually coming out this year, but I don't have the figures yet. I can say that we have farms in all areas, farming activities, whether it be vegetable production, orchards, fruit production, livestock as well. We have a number of equine operations in the country, in the county as well. So it's really everything. Yeah.
There is something that I've heard this term used, agritourism.
Yes.
Is that, am I saying it
Yes.
correctly? Okay.
Yeah.
What is agritourism,
Agritourism.
and is it alive and well here in Morris County?
It's very much alive and well. It's very popular. Farmers in Morris County actually see people coming in from out of the county and even out of state to visit their farms. Agritourism involves activities on the farm that may include things like hay rides, pumpkin picking, pick your own vegetables, pick your own berries, pick your own apples, corn mazes. So yes, they're very popular for families to engage in.
Interesting. I've heard that term several times, and I never quite knew what it meant. So thank you for that. Someone wanting to learn more about the Morris County Agriculture Development Board, they can, I guess, give your office a call, go to the website. How can they learn more?
They can visit our website. They can call us. They can call me directly, and they can also visit our offices. Our office is located at 30 Schuyler Place in Morristown, New Jersey.
And if you want to take a look at the website, I know it's a long address, but I'm going to give it to you. It's Morris Planning, one word, morrisplanning.org/divisions/PRES trust. Okay, and when you go to the website, you'll be able to actually see information about all of the farms that
That's
we were,
correct.
100 and how many?
123.
123 farms. You'll be
Right.
able to see where they are. You'll be able
Exactly.
to see the acreage. You'll be able to see, what else, Catherine? What
Information
they,
about the preservation process, if someone is interested in applying and
Yeah.
preserving their farm. We have the application online, as well as explanation about what the process looks like. We have information, like you said, about every preserved farm in the county, as well as pending projects.
Okay, yeah, there is a wealth of
There
information
is.
at that website. Catherine, I want to thank you very much for being with us today. Katherine Coyle,
you.
the director
Thank
of the
you for
Morris.
having.
You're quite welcome. Director of the Morris County Agriculture Development Board. Now, if you have a question about county government, you can call the Morris County Freeholders Office, and that telephone number is 973-285-6010. You may also visit the county government's website. That's morriscountynj.gov. And by the way, you can get to the Agriculture Development Board's website by going to the county website as well. When you're on the county website, why don't you sign up for the county's electronic newsletter? You can also check out Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, peruse some county government documents on Scribd, and check out some photos from various county events on our Flickr page. I'm Joe Garifo. Thank you very much for being with us. Tune in again next week at this time, won't you, for another edition of Focus on Morris County.